Hey folks, Krishna here once again, and this time around, due to popular demand, I guess, or more questions, people seem to really like the last video on using the cylinder technique to develop poses. We're going to expand upon that and use it for poses that appear to be challenging or difficult, or include foreshortening. So I thought we'd start with this image right here. I'll put links to where I received these images from in the description for this video, but they're also right here. So let's get started. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm looking at a pose that looks very, very symmetrical is I look at the landmarks of the shoulder blades and I look at the tilt, and we can see, even though she's got hair draping down over her shoulders, we can see that there is a little bit of a tilt on both shoulder blades. And we have a pelvis that is more or less facing the viewer. So the pelvis looks pretty much straight on. And the way I like to represent this is I'll just start off with a cylinder, place a little bit of a gap, have another cylinder like so. We don't necessarily see, because this particular pose is almost like a straight on view, I'm cheating that by just adding a little bit of an end cap, because I'm thinking about where the shoulder blade will socket to the upper arm. On this particular case, the cap would actually be something like this. In other words, where you have this edge right here more visible. All right, so now we've got the pelvis. We're going to just indicate that with a cylindrical shape. We can see where the legs are actually going to emanate from the pelvis. So I'm just representing this cylindrical shape almost as if it looks like the two caps are at an angle. Okay, so once I have that, then I can start to put together the other elements. I've got the neck. I've got the curvature of the waist. Actually, we can see that it's something like this. This is just a study to basically understand what it is that I'm trying to create. We've got the head. And then we've got the upper arm. I'll represent that with a tapered cylinder. You can see that there's a little bit of a cap there, and this arm is actually coming out towards the viewer. The lower arm tapers towards the wrist, and then we have our trapezoidal shape. I can repeat that same thing for the opposite side here. Cylindrical shape. And we can see that this cylinder is like something like this. Got our trapezoidal shape. Like so. I'm not worried about the clothes, just trying to capture the basic pose that I have here. And then we're going to do the thigh next. So the thigh essentially has a cylindrical shape. It's actually coming out towards the viewer. And then this thigh is actually doing something like that. And then we have the lower leg. We have our cone for our heel. And we have another cone for the foot. I'll just represent it in a very simple way like this. The other foot appears to be behind, but let me just go ahead and get that lower leg first. And we'll draw through the form like so. So we have essentially this pose, and at this particular stage, I can continue to add more details. I can go ahead and flesh this out as a female, or I can use the same pose and translate it by playing with the proportions of the shoulder and the pelvis, by not only making the shoulder blades bigger and more chunky, or reducing the size of the pelvis. I can come up with different body shapes. So basically you can think of it like this. Broader shoulders, maybe smaller head, And then you've got the pelvis. Maybe I'll just move the pelvis up like this. And you can see how the pelvis is a little bit more narrow. And you've got the legs. So you can easily translate this to, you know, if you're working on a male character, you can come up with a female character. And just changing the proportions, I think, can be super helpful here. So that's like a rough idea of what I'm trying to get across. Okay, so we've got this first pose here. The key takeaway here is you're looking at the orientation of the shoulder blades and the pelvis. Let's go ahead and do another one. So I've got a link for this photographer as well. So again, what I'm going to do is if I look at this particular shoulder blade here, I feel like it's coming out. There's that end cap. And then if I look at the other shoulder blade, it's a little bit hard for me to see. What I am going to do is just infer that it's kind of pointing in this general direction. And we've got the pelvis cap is somewhere over here. And from there, I can go ahead and make those connections. Got the rib cage, pelvis, we've got the head tilt. And then we've got the upper arm. It's a foreshortened cylinder that appears to be coming out towards the viewer. Because it's foreshortened, it appears to be like it's, you know, not as long as it really is. And then we have, move this over. We have the lower arm, and then we have our good old trapezoidal shape. I'll extend the upper arm. And we have the palm. Something like this. And then for the legs, I know I've got a cylindrical shape. Maybe I'll just draw this in blue so it's easy to see. But we can see where this cap is between the upper and lower leg. We have a cap that I will represent over here. Sometimes we do have to, and actually the cap looks like it's a little bit higher than the pelvis, so let me just move that up. I'll move it like this. And then we've got the other, I'll just go ahead and draw the foot, cone, and draw the other leg. Draw through the form. And then we have our cone, our other foot. And so essentially we have something that looks like this. So I can always go back through, refine and adjust. Like I don't want the leg to be parallel with the pelvis, so I'm just going to add a little bit more of a curvature there. So I've got this particular pose blocked out. Is it an exact copy? No, but it gives me enough to where I can go ahead and start to add, you know, more details. For example, if I drop the opacity here, I can start to say, okay, well, there's the shoulder blade, there's the upper arm, and then we've got the waist. We've got the hand. And for the fingers, what I like to do is I like to just go ahead and look at the overall shape of the, you know, from the first knuckle to the second knuckle. Looks like they all kind of bend in like this. And then we've got our drumstick for the thumb. And on the opposite side, we have our hair. We have to have X-ray vision almost to get a sense of where the forms are. Drumstick. We've got a finger that's essentially turning towards the viewer. Then we've got the other fingers that are kind of curling inward. Like this. And you can map this onto a stylized character. So I really do appreciate the comments that everyone's given me on the last video. It's, I think, one of the more popular videos on my channel. You know, I have been hesitant to make videos on poses because I feel like there's a lot of other videos out there that discuss the same topic. So the question that I had to myself was like, why would people care about my videos when there's like a half a majillion, not even a word, 500 million videos on this topic? So, but I also think too that, you know, just by sharing another method, maybe one method is easier for, you know, some folks to understand compared to another method. So if this helps you out, that's great. It may not be for everyone's cup of tea, but, you know, that's the beauty of art. There's so many different ways of thinking about it. So here I've got this pose. It's more or less sketched out. I can go back through and I can add details and whatnot. But so don't be intimidated by foreshortening poses. The best thing I would say is think about that cylinder. You want to be able to get comfortable in drawing that cylinder from multiple angles. That's really, really important. And then also thinking about the fact that the cylinders themselves are tapered cylinders. And I have a few videos called, you know, volumetric basics that talk about, you know, the importance of drawing these basic volumetric shapes and understanding how to draw them from different angles that may be of use. So if you found this video to be helpful, let me know. If you've got specific questions that you want to ask me, I'll do my level best to answer them. And thanks so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.